You talk about suffering like it's some tragic interruption to life, like pain is a curse meant to stop a man in his tracks. But pain was the first language I ever learned. I was baptized in pressure, raised in abandonment, sharpened by nights so cold they could freeze the mercy out of a saint. While the world searched for comfort, I searched for understanding. I sat with the chaos. I listened to the silence until it started speaking back. And what it taught me was simple. The dark does not destroy everyone. Sometimes it reveals them. See, people think isolation is weakness because they've never survived their own thoughts. They need noise, validation, distractions. They need hands to hold and voices to reassure them they still matter. But I learned what happens when all of that disappears, when nobody calls, when nobody comes, when the world stops checking if you're alive. That's where most people collapse. That's where they surrender their identity just to feel accepted again. But me, I adapted. I became dangerous in the silence. Because when a man has nothing left to lose, he finally sees clearly. They thought the pressure would crush me. Instead, it compressed me into something solid, something disciplined. Every betrayal stripped away another illusion. Every abandonment burned weakness out of my system. Every sleepless night hammered patience into my bones until I stopped reacting emotionally to the things designed to break me. You call it coldness. No, it's control. It's what happens when a soul gets tired of bleeding for people who clap while you drown. I no longer fear pain because pain became familiar. I know its footsteps. I know its voice. I know how it sits beside you at 3 a.m. whispering every failure back into your skull. But I also know something the weak never learn. Pain can be trained. It can be weaponized. You can turn agony into focus. You can turn humiliation into fuel. You can turn loneliness into power so concentrated it changes the energy of every room you walk into. That's why they don't understand me anymore. They remember the version of me that explained himself, the version that gave second chances, the version that still believed loyalty meant something. That man is gone, buried somewhere beneath the rubble of disappointment and reality. What stands here now is something else entirely. Something built without comfort, without permission, without fear. I stopped asking the world to recognize my worth the moment I realized most people only value what they can control. And once they couldn't control me anymore, they called me distant, arrogant, ruthless. But the truth, I just stopped shrinking myself to fit inside broken minds. I stopped performing softness for people addicted to using it against me. Now I move differently. Slower, calmer, more precise, like a predator that already survived the hunt. I don't need revenge because time already punishes people who mishandle real ones. I don't need to scream because silence carries more weight than rage ever could. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. Real power doesn't announce itself, it arrives and everything shifts. And they feel that shift when I enter now. The stillness, the restraint, the controlled violence buried beneath composure. Because I became what hardship creates when it fails to kill you. Not bitter, not broken, refined, like steel hammered in fire until it no longer bends under pressure. They wanted me desperate. They wanted me crawling back for acceptance. They wanted guilt to keep me obedient. But suffering removed that weakness from me. I walked through the kind of darkness that forces a man to either evolve or disappear. And I chose evolution. I chose discipline over despair, strategy over emotion, purpose over approval. Now I don't chase people. I don't explain myself. I don't beg to be understood by minds committed to misunderstanding me. Let them talk. Let them rewrite the story to comfort themselves. Truth doesn't care about narratives. Truth stands alone, unmoved, unshaken, eternal. And the truth is this. What they tried to bury became the foundation. What they tried to silence became the voice inside the storm. What they abandoned became unstoppable. Because when you survive the void long enough, you stop fearing monsters. You realize you became something far more terrifying. A person who no longer needs anything from anyone. That kind of soul cannot be manipulated, cannot be intimidated, cannot be controlled. And when the world finally realizes that, it panics, because now they are no longer facing someone wounded. They are facing someone awakened. someone forged in isolation, someone sculpted by pressure, someone who turned suffering into structure and silence into command. So let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them wonder what happened to the person they used to know. That person died in the fire, and what rose from the ashes does not ask for acceptance anymore. It simply arrives like judgment. They sense it before you even speak now. That tension in the air, that unnatural calm, like the room itself understands something dangerous just entered and doesn't dare interrupt it. Because power like yours no longer performs for attention. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't beg to be seen. It exists with the kind of certainty that makes insecure people uncomfortable. And they hate that. They hate anyone who learned how to survive without needing applause to breathe. See, the old you would have explained the scars, tried to make people understand the pain, tried to prove your intentions were pure. But pain matured you past that stage. Now you understand something most never will. People hear only what protects their illusion of themselves. So why waste truth on ears committed to lies? Why exhaust your soul trying to convince the blind the fire is real while your skin still carries the burns? No, now you conserve your energy. You move with intention. You speak only when necessary, because silence has become your greatest weapon. Silence forces people to confront themselves, and most people cannot survive that confrontation. They need distraction, noise, drama, chaos, anything to avoid sitting alone with the emptiness inside them. But you made peace with the emptiness. You sat in it until it transformed into discipline. That's the difference between you and them. They break under pressure because they were built around comfort. You became stronger because comfort abandoned you early. Every hardship sharpened your instincts. Every betrayal taught you restraint. Every lonely night trained you to stand without support. While they were building personalities, you were building endurance. While they were addicted to validation, you were learning how to survive without oxygen. And survival changes a person. It removes softness from the eyes. It slows the heartbeat. It kills the need to explain yourself to people who only valued you when you were easy to control. That version of you, the overly accessible version, the forgiving version, the version that kept bleeding, trying to save everyone else, that version had to die. Not because it was weak, but because the world kept mistaking kindness for permission. Now they meet the aftermath. Now they meet the consequence of every lesson learned the hard way. A mind that no longer panics. A soul that no longer bends. A presence that no longer seeks entry because it became the gate itself. And what terrifies them most is your patience. Not rage, not revenge, patience. Because truly dangerous people don't react emotionally to disrespect. They observe, they calculate, they adapt. You stopped wasting energy proving your value to rooms that benefited from underestimating you. Now you let time expose everything naturally. That's why your silence became heavier than their words. Because deep down they remember who you used to be before the world hardened you. They remember the warmth, the loyalty, the effort. They remember how much access they had to your heart before they treated it like something disposable. And now all they can reach is distance, discipline, cold certainty. You became untouchable the moment you stopped needing to be understood. And there's something terrifying about a person who no longer fears losing people. Because once fear disappears, hesitation dies with it. That's when a human being becomes unstoppable. That's when they stop crawling through life asking for permission to exist and start moving like destiny already signed their name into history. You don't walk with arrogance now. You walk with awareness. Awareness of what you survived. Awareness of what it cost. Awareness that most people would have folded under half the pressure that built you. That's why your energy changed. Not because you became evil, but because you became impossible to manipulate. The game stopped working. The guilt stopped working. The emotional traps stopped working. You finally saw the world for what it was, a battlefield disguised as a conversation. And once you saw that truth, there was no returning to innocence. Now every move you make carries weight. Every absence becomes louder than presence. Every word feels deliberate. Every glance feels calculated. Because suffering taught you precision. And precision frightens people who survive through chaos. So let them keep telling themselves you changed too much. Let them call you cold because they no longer have access to the warmth they took for granted. Let them pretend your silence is arrogance when really it's discipline, because while they were busy underestimating your stillness, you were becoming something permanent, not a phase, not a comeback, not a wounded soul seeking revenge, but a force shaped by pressure and perfected by survival. The kind of force that doesn't need to threaten anyone, because its existence alone already does.